Halifax Mooseheads with 2 games coming up. Rimouski Oceanic is game number 1 Thursday night, and then a rematch against the Moncton Wildcats. This is Halifax Sports Talk with Andrew and Dayton. Dayton, first of all, go Blue Jays, go. They move on, they advance. Not a Halifax-based team, but we got to support Canada's team, of course. How are you?
Hey, well, if John Schneider goes up on the podium and says, when the country feels like feels like the whole country's watching you, and then it feels like Nova Scotians are going to murder you, hey, it's a Halifax Sports Talk then, right?
Yes, sir. I thought that was fake. Like when I saw someone, like it was a graphic about it, I didn't see the video at first. I thought that was completely fake, and then I watched it. I was so pumped up about it. But we talked earlier in the week about the Halifax Mooseheads and just the start they've gotten off to. You know, their forwards were getting such consistent offensive production. Bresson, however you're pronouncing it, he has been awesome in between the pipes. So a great start for this Halifax Mooseheads team. And the Halifax Wanderers, they have an opportunity to bump their way up in the standings, try and get home field advantage for the postseason. They'll play a weaker opponent this weekend. We'll get to that. But yeah, right now, just before we jump into it, your thoughts on this Mooseheads team as they approach this weekend?
Yeah, definitely. This Mooseheads team really has to try and find some depth scoring. I know we've talked about Oleg Kulibiakin. We've talked about Quinn Kennedy a little bit of Sean Carrier and Yasu Mensinen, but what I'm looking for is a little bit of Emilio Santini, a little bit of Kalen Blake, the Newfoundland boy, a little bit of Patrick McNabb, a little bit of those guys to bump and grind, but also maybe get some third line, fourth line scoring here. Connor McPherson as well. I'm not sure if he's going to have any supplementary discipline from that penalty, the cross check that he took the other day, but if he is in the lineup for tonight's game, then I would hope for some magic tonight for McPherson, maybe some revenge, because people are going to be talking about, like last year, there was a big trade that went on. Quinn Kennedy obviously came back from Rimouski, and Lou Levesque and Jack Martin went to Rimouski from Halifax, and there was a little bit of animosity anytime those teams would meet up last year. Same with the Moncton teams once those teams made a trade last year. So anytime that two former teams that had some players on it in previous years or have a player that they traded for like Quinn Kennedy, it's always nice to see them rematch and meet again and see what those players can do versus their former team.
Yeah, I think no matter what league it is or what sport it is, former team, you always want to see the player play really well against their old team. I was listening to the great podcast the Halifax Mooseheads do with, of course, Scott McIntosh and Cousineer there, and it is a great one. And they were talking about Quinn Kennedy and the start that he's off to. They're previewing this weekend, and they also had Zach Fucali on. Always great to listen to Zach and reflect on Moose memories. And it's crazy how long ago it was when he was actually on the team now at this point. Makes me feel pretty old, but they were talking about just the great and outstanding start that Quinn Kennedy's gotten off to. We've talked about it a lot on the show, but I love the way you opened it up. I mean, as the season progresses, as the season moves on, you're going to want the depth guys scoring. And I'll tell you, it's not just the scoring, but you want to be able to be a little bit more than just an energy line and just dumping the puck in. Do you think that, this team being super young again, there has been some physicality? You mentioned questioning if there even is going to be some discipline action taking place already. Power play has been good. PK, are you worried that they're going to give up too many penalties and that could end up being a problem here? And also, we talked about Bresson being really good, but are they relying on him too much? Is that something that could get exposed over the next little while? And obviously here, this matchup is kind of a favorable one for them. We got a team coming to town very similar to Baie-Comeau last week, where there aren't really the highest of expectations. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but Rimouski isn't probably going to win it all this year.
I don't think they're going to see it. They just went for the host role at the Memorial Cup. Teams do that, and they tend to load up like they did last year. Matthew Kettleford, Jack Martin, Lou Levesque, a bunch of other guys like Jonathan Fauchon. Their roster was stacked last year. They've lost a lot of pieces, but they're kind of exactly like Baie-Comeau was last weekend. Not a whole lot of stuff going on up front. Evan Despatie is their leading scorer, but he's only got 2 goals so far this year. And I'm really looking at the back end, the guys between the pipes. They got Mathis Langevin and William Lasselle. So those are 2 guys that were both there last year. They're seasoned veterans in the QMJHL by this point. No matter like which one plays, whether it be Lasselle, whether it be Langevin, I still think either of those guys can come in and steal a game for Halifax. So like it always is, the boys just have to play a full 60 and stick to that offensive-minded game style that Brad McKenzie is trying to instill in his players this year.
Yeah, just looking at the head-to-head graphic that the Mooseheads always put out here, 4-2 record for the Mooseheads, 3-2, 0-1 for the Oceanic. Goals for similar, actually edged out by the Rimouski, 18-17, but goals against, the real difference here, 22 goals against as compared to the 18 for the Halifax Mooseheads. Power play percentage, 16% for the Mooseheads, 28% for Rimouski. Penalty kill, both tied up at 71% each. So really interesting matchup here. You're going to get a real desperate Rimouski team, but I'm feeling pretty good about this Halifax Mooseheads team. We don't want to have the goaltenders have to make 30-plus saves every single night. That's what I'm going to say here. That's the key. Protect your own end. Keep the pucks out. Try and block some shots. I want to see kind of a less kind of scrappy win, but I'll tell you, I've been real impressed with what I've seen, and this should be an opportunity here where you want to play some quality hockey. It's similar opportunity as last weekend. You mentioned it on the Look Ahead show where you've got a Thursday game and then a weekend game. I mean, it's kind of a good opportunity again to do the same thing as last week.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't be surprised tonight if Halifax starts their backup, Nick Circa. You just talked about it. They might be relying on Bresson too much. Well, here's load management. That's where that comes in. And Nick Circa, he's definitely had his fair share in the QMJHL. He can hold his own. Why not throw him in a game that Halifax is probably favored, and you might be able to steal this one tonight at home?
Kilfoyle, obviously a guy that's going to be huge for the Mooseheads all season long. Do you get the feeling this weekend might be the weekend where we see some highlight goals and see the real Kilfoyle return and come back here? I mean, he's been great so far, don't get me wrong, but something tells me you get a couple games under your belt, this is the weekend we see him explode, I think.
Yeah, I hope Liam Kilfoyle can kind of break out. It's been a couple of weekends since he's come back from main camp in Detroit, but like we always talk about, it takes time, and he's still got to figure out some chemistry with his new line mates. Last game in Moncton, he was playing with 2 Europeans who he's only spent 2 weeks with. And it'll get some taking used to for Kilfoyle, but like we said, he's a good player, and good players find ways to put the pucks in the back of the net. He's going to adapt, and I don't think it'll take very long for Liam Kilfoyle to get going.
Well, I'm looking forward to this matchup, and then, of course, it's a big one. The next one here, we've talked about it. The rivalry used to be, and we see that jersey right behind you there, Dayton, the Battle of Nova Scotia. But as of late, it's been a little bit of a different rivalry, Halifax against Moncton. And this is, of course, is a rematch game as these teams just played last week.
Yeah, last year, Dylan McKinnon and Braden McPhee, they got traded, or McKinnon got traded, and then McPhee and McKinnon exchanged a few blows last year. Fisticuffs were shed, and there was some stuff going on every time that these two teams played. Now, McKinnon, obviously, we wanted to mention that he actually just got traded from the Moncton Wildcats to the Charlottetown Islanders, so good luck on the island to Dylan McKinnon. He's leaving his hometown after just half a season there. Or I guess it would be a full season because he got traded in the offseason the year before, so a full season in Moncton, but now he's off to the island. But like we said, there's some extracurriculars that would go on last year between Halifax and Moncton. I don't expect the same thing, but after the last game, Connor McPherson, he was standing up to Riley Sampson after his hit on Patrick McNabb. There might be some revenge coming in this game as well. You never know. I'm always up for it, and I always love when the Moncton Wildcats come to the Scotiabank Center.
Yeah, last week, like you were there at the Avenir Center. Now this time it'll be a homestand for the Halifax Mooseheads. I believe it's 6 straight. We talked about that on Monday. So now the Moncton Wildcats will get a taste of the Halifax Mooseheads fans. Look, as you know, I work in the betting industry, and we always say when two teams play each other in a short period of time, usually you get one low scoring game and you get one high scoring game. And typically, if the first one's low scoring, second one's high. If the first one's high, the second one is low. Do you get that feeling as well in this one that, maybe penalties lead to power plays? Who knows? But we saw kind of a tight checking game and an exhilarating game with that late comeback and then overtime. Do you get that feeling this one might see more goals?
Paul, you know what I have a feeling for? We were just talking about it. What a time to come alive this would be for Liam Kilfoyle to get his first of the season in a game against Moncton. I would say divisional rivals, but actually the QMJHL refigured their divisions and standings. They actually don't have divisions this year. It's just the East and West Conference. So I can say a conference rival, the Moncton Wildcats now, but still a couple points up on them. So it would be good to extend that lead in the standings on the Wildcats. And if Kilfoyle could get something going, I think that'd be great. I do see a high scoring game coming into this one. It's always good. Saturday night at the Scotia Center, downtown Halifax. It's going to be loud, probably upwards to 9,000 there that night. So I think it'll be a good one for the crowd and good one for the Mooseheads as well.
How do you find this young decor is faring so far for the Halifax Mooseheads? You've talked about Eddie Doyle, talked about a couple other guys, his running mate there. How do you pronounce it? L'Italian? Yeah, he's been great. I always mess his name up. But how do you find these guys are doing together, the line pairs? And have you seen Coach McKenzie changing the lines at all, or is he being pretty consistent with the D pairs?
Yeah, it's actually been fairly consistent. Like Hondell and Owen Phillips, the first pair, and then Doyle and Tyfair have sometimes switched around with Malik L'Italien. L'Italien did start the first game, though, in Charlottetown when I said to everyone in the season preview, oh, they're not going to throw him to the Wolves. And then sure enough, they did. But he's fared very well. We saw in the game against Baie-Comeau, he threw that huge hit. I posted on Twitter, and then you commented and said, back in the day, boys would be dropping the gloves after something like this. But times have changed. But I do think, like, this decor, Carlos Handel said it himself in the very first game of the season. Like, they're a big decor. It's going to be tough to get around them in the corners as well. So I think they definitely came up and definitely stood tall and been there for lived up to expectations for sure.
And I'll tell you, if Moncton does get a lead on the Mooseheads in this one, they're going to want to keep putting their foot on the gas pedal. We saw what happened late in that game for the Halifax Mooseheads the last time around. Ole Kubiakin, I believe it was, that was the one that got it done. So I feel like, and then Kennedy in overtime. So who knows what's going to happen. But I do think we're going to see more goals in this one. Kind of a more high event game, as they're saying now in the NHL and in the pros. So looking for a huge weekend from the Halifax Mooseheads, 4-2 on the season. We'll see if they can sweep the weekend roundup here with the Rimouski Oceanic and the Moncton Wildcats. And as far as the Halifax Wanderers are concerned, we're making a point to mention them. This is a team playing pretty well, coming off a draw, but they get the opportunity to play Valor in Winnipeg. It's a road match here, and really curious to see the lineup the head coach Patrice Geyser is going to put out there, because you want to rest guys. You want to make sure guys are fresh. But this is one of those ones here. You're playing a team with a minus 27 goal differential, Dayton. When I look at this Halifax Wanderers team, I mean, you look at the standings, I'll tell you right now, I mean, it goes from Wanderers right now at, as far as the goal differential, 5, and then Valor minus 27, Pacific minus 26, and Vancouver minus 22. So there's really a group of like a handful of teams at the top, and then it just falls off a cliff. So late in the season, it's about winning the games you should win. You know, people talk about what makes great teams great across all sports. And I always think back to the Tampa Bay Lightning in hockey. The Tampa Bay Lightning, obviously in their heyday, and they're still a great team, when they're winning their cups, they would beat everybody. They wouldn't care if they were playing the San Jose Sharks or if they were playing the Colorado Avalanche. They would treat everybody the same. So I think it takes a good team to be able to show up with that same intensity, no matter who you're playing against. You can tell what I'm saying here. They need this win here. They want to secure home field. You know how much of an advantage it is playing at the Wanderers grounds? There might not be 30,000 seats available, but it's so compact. They sell out every match. This is, I think, a big, big game here this weekend for the Wanderers.
Yeah, Andrew, you just said it. You have to win the games you're expected to win. Halifax needs to do that this weekend, and then they also need a little bit of help from Forge, and they hope to expect that Forge wins the game that they should win against the team that Halifax is right behind in the standings, York, next weekend. So if Halifax wins this weekend and York doesn't get the 2 points or doesn't get any points against Forge next weekend, then it should look a little bit better for Halifax in terms of a home playoff match.
And that'll be absolutely rocking. We'll make sure we're covering that. We'll get some pre-game shows for you, some pre-match shows when the playoffs. Maybe we'll try and get a guest or two on, either a writer or maybe, hell, even a player from the Halifax Wanderers. We'd love to have that. But looking forward to a great weekend. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We're growing this channel fast here. We want you guys here. Hit that bell. You'll get notified when we go live or when we post a video. Make sure you hit the thumbs up and comment below. If we're getting a Moosehead player on this show, who do you want? Who do you want to hear from? Let us know. Make sure you follow us on X, on TikTok, and across all social media platforms. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.